most of us don't have that longing to feel like we're participating in the betterment of society, the betterment of our office, the betterment of our home, our community, whatever that looks like. And so I think rather than just avoid that or put that on the horizon of like, oh, well, someday I'll be able to give, someday I'll work for a nonprofit, someday I'll, it's, just looking inside and going, there's so many ways to meet people where they're at and make sure that they feel valued. And I think anytime that you're providing value, you're being very generous.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Conversations. I have not done this for a while, so I'm like really excited and really into it. We've got a great room full of people, and we have just the right amount. I think we're going to have everybody. Okay.
Zane's gonna have some fun editing this one.
This is fantastic because this is like our new tagline. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday Conversations, where we always have audio issues at the beginning of the show.
All right. Price of admission.
So Friday Conversations, most people in the room already know this. Most people probably joining us live know this. We just get together, business owners, entrepreneurs, self-directed roles. We people that kind of like oftentimes have a difficult time getting into that real conversation with people because life becomes so busy with whether you have kids, you've got deadlines, PRKs, KLPs. I'm making up initials because none of those are real. Like you just got like business stuff you're dealing with. And so the other things, the more esoteric things pile up and you just need a little bit of space to breathe. So we've created this as a space for us to come together, breathe, and also record it so that other people that might be struggling with some of these things or wanting to talk about them or wanting to think about them have a little bit of space for that. So what we like to do is introduce everybody in the room, and I am like literally just loving this. I'm gonna randomly pick. I think I like Debbie to get us started on this. Debbie, can you introduce yourself? Tell us your name that I just gave away, and a little bit about what you do, and then we will go to your left and hear from Rob, who's sitting next to you, and we'll go around the table.
Awesome. Well, I'm Debbie Ramirez. I work with Champion Empire, where we help stressed out, overwhelmed, and stuck entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out how to get to their goals, to get them a personalized plan and connect them with a deep bench of experts who can help them actually get to their goals. Also work with one of our partners, Healing Local, where we heal our local communities. Passing to my left to Rob.
All right, thanks, Debbie. Yeah, Rob Bruder with Idic Designs, and I work with small business owners that feel invisible, feel inconsistent, or don't have a lot of confidence in growing their businesses, and I work with them on their technology solutions to give them a leg up in the local economy.
Hi, I'm Dave Ribble from Standout Mastery. When we work with the folks who are working with Rob, we also work with them on communication, connection, collaboration skills, things like that, so that they have more fun going to networking events. Because if you don't stand out, how will they know you're there?
Perfect. I love that. I'm Zane Schwendiman. I am, to quote Jonathan from earlier, trying to figure out what I'm doing as I grow up.
Perfect.
Yeah, love it. So, no, but I'm also working on a project on the side called The Initiative. And yeah, just happy to be here.
Perfect.
I'm Mandy, and I'm with Q Home Loans. We have a variety of products that we help. So especially for small business owners, it can be really difficult to get home loans. If anybody has tried, they know that there's a lot more hoops to jump through. So I would be happy to be your guide with that. We have a lot of specialized programs where it can be bank statement loans, a lot of different ways to work with whatever your business structure is and make sure that you can get a home loan. And anybody who knows a first-time buyer, please send them to Jonathan and I. This is a truly phenomenal moment in the market over the last at least 7 years, where this is really an opportunity that they have to come in and win some amazing deals. So if it is not the right time, they won't know unless they investigate it. So please reach out to us and send anybody to us our way so that we can do those analysis with them.
I am Todd with LOMP.ai, and I'm trying out a new tag. This is my new tag. Lots of moving parts is the name of the company. It's a AI tool. It's an enhanced AI tool placing the buyer in front of the seller with the buyer in control. So if you're a buyer and you're looking for something, it gives you the avenue of posting and following or finding a seller for you. So.
Love it.
I'm Leonidas Biron, son of Jonathan and Melissa Biron is not here, but I do manage my mother's social media account.
Fantastic, both of you.
Thank you.
And no, I didn't introduce myself yet. I just introduced Friday Conversations. I'm Jonathan Biron, host of this here podcast. And as Mandy mentioned, I am helping buyers right now. I help buyers and sellers, but right now it's a great time to be a buyer. It's a great time to get into home ownership. Partially because I just signed, I just about went into lingo speak. I signed somebody around. I have a buyer that is under contract to buy their first house. And I'm telling you, it was so easy because nobody was competing for that house. We got to name our price. We got to name our terms. We got the seller to pay their closing costs. It's really a great time to be a buyer, as Todd is describing, in the real estate market. So yes, we would love to chat with you if you are thinking about buying your first home or your second home, your third home, 10th home. We are there for you for all of that. And particularly, I think that a lot of business owners it used to be that if you were self-employed, you had just started your own company, that it was very hard to get approved for a loan to buy a house. That has shifted substantially. So if you know somebody that is doing a great job and they have good resources, they're just feeling like they don't have the paperwork to prove it, we can work with that. So
I am the energy and metabolism coach for people over 30. My name is Steve Hicks with Thriving Body Holistic Fitness.
Love it.
I'm Mark Luna with New American Funding, home loan mortgage lender. Just an alternative, specializing in small entrepreneurs, small business owners who want to get into the real estate market and purchase or refinance something they already have.
Lovely.
My name is Lexi Smith, and I'm the president of operations for Wally Law in Spokane Valley. We are a personal injury, employment law, and family law firm. We are locally owned and want to help you if you've been injured, car accident, slip and fall, dog bite. You've been injured at the hands of another party. We would love to help you out and get you compensated the way you should be.
My name is Casey Rogers. I am an entrepreneur, still trying to figure out my main squeeze. But I've been in Spokane for 2 years. So I absolutely love it here. Small town vibes with a mini city amenities. Before that, I was all over the west side, Seattle, but I love it here and I hope to make it my home.
Oh, I fully agree.
Hi, my name's Jessica Atwell, and I do know what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a midwife, and everything I do is to support that dream. I spent 8 years overseas, and I am dying to be back out of this country working with different cultures and different areas. War-torn places, they still have babies being born. So I would love to make that happen. And so I took an intentional detour into massage school to be a better midwife. And then I also have just a love for business and people and, you know, real estate's location, and business is all, you know. And I was introduced to a really incredible opportunity with Amazon storefronts last year that I like to share with everybody else. And that is working me towards having a stream of income that's passive and residual to support my midwifery work that I'd like to do internationally.
awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you all for that quick introduction. And even just as we're going around the room, one of the things I like to say every week is that I wish that we could go back around the room and I could spend a little bit of time telling everybody about what I know about each of you individually. There's so many cool things. And Lexi, like I just met you and already like there's so many things about what you and your company are doing that I want the world to know about. And the reason I bring this up is because one, my 3 words, Todd, that I'm working on are invite deeper connection. That's what I want to do. I want to see. And so I love it. Before we got live here, I saw all these new connections being made. old connections being deepened. It's really a great thing. And so I encourage everybody in the room, after we're done here, we can't stay up here, but downstairs, the whole restaurant is open. Find somebody, get to know them a little bit better, exchange information. And I saw all of you already doing that. So like, this isn't me telling you what you ought to do. It's just encouraging, keep going with that. And then for our audience at home, one, the people in this room are amazing. You should come and join us. Two, if you're not already finding that outlet, find it. Like, it's so important to just connect with people and learn in community about what they're doing. So having said all of that, this is an announcement that we're making. First of all, thank you to Dryfly for hosting us here, IDIC Designs for paying for lunch for us.
Yes.
We really appreciate that. It's absolutely amazing. And we are in the process of splitting up where we do this. So soon, coming soon, we don't have exact details, but coming soon, we will be here on First Friday for arts and entertainment. And then the other Fridays, we will be at other locations around Spokane, and we'll have more details about that. But just giving everybody a heads up, we're not going to always be here at Dryfly as we've been for the last few months. So heads up that that's coming, more details to follow. And now I'm super excited, and I can't believe we've spent almost 11 minutes. We have spent 11 minutes getting to this point because I'm super excited for Zane to introduce Mandy and what we're talking about today.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. And, I'll give you a little bit. There was a couple minutes of technical difficulties. So we're like,
Same thing.
like 8-9 minutes in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
We're all about being generous today, right? No, I'm really happy to be here, lucky to be sitting next to Mandy. And, leading up to this, we've had some great conversations kind of around generosity. And what we settled on was reframing what that means. And how do we look at generosity in a way that encourages us to do more, but also doesn't discourage us from what we're currently doing. So yeah, I let Mandy kind of take it from here and we'll keep going with the conversation.
Lovely. Well, I'm really excited. I think this is going to be very inspired between all of us. So I have a couple topics, but I'm excited to hear a lot of input from the group because just like Zane said, the minute that we started talking about this topic, our meeting went over. We were like, what can I push back? I need to keep engaging. And a lot of what you said just the other week, Debbie, really integrated into our approach and just the whole conversation. Because honestly, when Zane first approached me and he was like, we're doing generosity. So immediately I'm thinking, nonprofits, people who are really just out there, doing the work every single day. And I kind of had some imposter syndrome. So I was like, well, I don't know. Have I given you the wrong impression that I'm just out there, investing in everything? And, I do volunteer and I do give, but I immediately thought like, have I misrepresented myself somehow? And so then when we were visiting, it just really sunk in exactly the point that you made when you poignantly asked us, has there been a time where you were involved in some sort of business that didn't feel like it was fulfilling your purpose? You didn't feel like you were contributing really in the way that you have a yearning. And I would imagine that it is very much the majority of entrepreneurs that feel like the main reason that they went into business for themselves, the main fire that keeps them coming back to kind of hit their heads sometimes, is because they want to contribute to their community. They actually care about what goes on around them. And so I think that for all of us, there was a time where we were doing some job that maybe didn't immediately fuel that fire. But you have to make money. You have to gain skills. You have to grow in order to get to the place where you really truly feel in the sunlight of that vision. And like everything is in that harmonious balance. But you don't always get to live there. It's a lot of, maintaining the soil. There's prep in when you're going to build a garden because we love that garden analogy. So I'm coming back to it. But you really inspired me. And when you asked that question, I thought of a time in my life when I was a used car salesman. And there was big reframing that was involved in that for me to feel like I was doing a service to my community and I was doing good work. I was out there on the mission. Kind of how I had to reframe even this talk of like, well, me, but I am very passionate about how I deliver my business no matter what that is. And right now in mortgages, I feel completely aligned. I feel like what I get to do ministers to the community, it ministers to the individual. And I feel like there's no compromise that I have to make with the team that I'm delivering that service with. But there was a time where, I mean, used car salesmen have a really big stigma. I wasn't always in alignment with my company and the way that they chose to do things. And I had to reframe that people do need cars. They do need good service. And I can provide that. So anybody that needs that is not going to find somebody who's going to give them better service than I'm going to. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we all started with a passion for our community, and we all started for a passion for our thing, whatever that is. And we didn't all realize that there's not anybody who gets to do their thing without also being a salesman. And a lot of people will talk about used car salesmen, but they actually believe that stigma for all sales. They believe all sales is dirty. All sales is compromising your morality. All sales dips your toe into disservice. And I'm here to challenge that. And that actually sales is the biggest form of generosity, and that no nonprofit can even exist unless we're out here kicking butt with our sales, because that gives us time, which allows us to donate to things that are outside of our sales purvey. Our thing can grow. It gives us money to donate to other people that are doing their thing in a nonprofit, but it does not make our thing any less giving or any less generous, as long as your heart is in the right place. It's not the act. Again, it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing. And something that really helped me is the Go Giver. This is all about reframing that so that you can internally get past the stigma of, if I'm selling, I'm not being generous. And the only way to be generous is to give something away. And that is not true. And so I think that this, along with the conversation today, I hope is where all of us discover, what is it that we do? And really asking ourselves very seriously, do you believe in the product or service that you are offering? Do you believe that people need it? And do you believe that yours is good? If the answer is no, then you got to back up. You are definitely in the wrong industry. You are doing the wrong thing, and you are doing a disservice. But if the answer is yes, then you need to figure out how to get that to as many people as possible. And the only way to do that is in sales. And I challenge all of us to, at the end of this conversation, at least get closer to truly feeling convicted that by not offering your service, by keeping it under a bushel, that is the disservice. You are not helping somebody that you should be helping. And to reframe that into everything that you do with your business is generosity. Not just getting home at the end of a long day, tuckered out, and then going, how do I give back? And just know I did that all day long. And yes, I'm going to carve out some time to specifically give money or give time to nonprofits, but that's not the end all be all. And you really inspired that in me, Debbie. So thank you both. And I'd like to just kind of, posit both of those questions. Is anybody feeling like there is a part of their business where they need to reevaluate, or, is somebody really striking home with that, that, if you believe in what you do, that you are doing a disservice by not actively presenting that to everybody possible?
Well, I know I shifted focuses a little bit this year. I was really kind of getting disheartened by all the consults and all the sales calls that I was having. Because I was looking back at the people that I had talked with that didn't purchase coaching, didn't continue on with their service. And I looked at where they are now versus when we talked to them, and almost none of them were in a better position physically or health-wise. And so what I really wanted to do was shift, instead of doing a sales consult or a fitness consult with people, this year I've really been focusing on doing fitness maps with people where, look, we're spending the same 60 minutes, we're going in depth, and it's my goal at the end not to present coaching, but to give you the step-by-step guide you can take to be successful and to reach your goals. I will, if it makes sense, if the personalities match, I'll let you know that coaching's an option. We can take this journey together. But at the very least, you have the path. I want to make sure that when you have a conversation with me, you are gonna be getting healthier, getting fitter afterwards. Regardless of whether it's a sales conversion or not. And so that's been one of my big shifts this year, is just making sure that I'm showing up as a coach for those coaching consults instead of a salesperson for those coaching consults.
Yeah, regardless of what they do, they're walking away with value. And it really reminds me of, you know, something that Alex Hormozy really imparts, is that most people don't have a knowledge problem, they have a doing problem. And so for us to be very, very generous with our knowledge, it usually comes back and it's not like people are running out and being like, oh, if only I knew. No, not go do it all now. So I love that approach. I think that's perfect.
I think something that you said that stuck with me, and I'm thinking that I'm ready to articulate it, and I think it might help even just get the conversation jumping, is when Zane approached you, you felt like, no, you've got the wrong person. And then like, and even as you said that, I was like, what? Like, you don't view yourself as generous? Like we do, we see that, right? And I think that in the same way, I worry about me, like, oh, am I being generous enough? Right. And like, so there's this like almost emotional, like it really means a lot when someone looks you in the eye and says, you know, I see you as a generous person. And so where we're talking about like internalizing ourselves, but like, I think also like, it helps a lot to be like, wow, you're really generous. Like, how does that land? Like just hearing that over yourself. I made eye contact with a few of you and like, but like, seriously, like when somebody looks at you and says, who says that?
Yeah.
And who goes up to somebody and says, you know, you're a really generous person. We don't really say that to each other. And so we find ourselves feeling like, well, not as generous as that guy that just gave away $1 million. And it, so yeah, so that's the thought I'm having.
It was the exact thought I had. When he first said it, I was like, wait, what? And that really blows my mind that you would think that, because I know all of us can vouch that you would be way up at the top. I mean, all of the things that you do to be so intentional with the community in just a very genuine, pure way, blows my mind. So you are very generous.
Thank
and
you.
we all see that a ton.
And yet it means something. It means so much to hear it, you know?
Yeah.
So to everybody that's here in the room, and honestly, to whoever's listening at home, like whatever it is that you do in your life, you are generous.
Yes.
And operate from there. Like that's an important distinction. That being said, there is the opposite side of that, right? Like if we just puff ourselves up, like I'm a pretty generous guy, I don't need to give to them. They don't. So yeah, there's a dangerous tension that needs to be held there. But yeah.
So where I've been going, Mandy, you did launch this off in a different kind of direction than I was expecting, but it you know, connected with me because so yeah, I started my business in 2001, and by 2015 I knew I was in trouble. I needed to change, and one of the reasons why is because I had avoided sales. Sales was not my skill, not my thing. And that, along with that, went marketing. So in 2015, I just started becoming a student of marketing. And in 2022, I was actually given an opportunity to go to an event down in Vegas. You know, practically the whole thing was paid for. And I went down and I met a gentleman who is a sales trainer. And one of the things that Keenan taught me was, well, two aspects. One of them is that sales is about focusing on the other, not on what you have or what you do, but you need to ask questions to help them. And one of his catchphrases is, if you're not helping, you're not selling. And that was a really powerful turnaround for me because, you know, I had seen lots of sales systems and they were all about, you know, what do I have to do to convince somebody to say yes to this, and what are, you know, little steps and things. And Keenan comes in and says, you know what, 60% or 80% of the conversation you should have should be questions.
Yeah,
Because your job is to help your prospect solve a problem.
yes,
And it comes from helping them recognize what's involved in the problem. They probably already have the answer, and you may or may not be the right solution, but you can at least leave them in a better place. And to me, that ties into why I started as a business owner, because I taught computers and taught technology to business and business staff. And the one thing I kept seeing is they're doing the best they can, but they can't see things from another point of view. And so I wanted to go out into the business community and say, there is a different way. And it's not buying something, it's looking at your business from your own point of view. So the more we can turn this around to where we are finding out what somebody else needs and then connecting them
yes.
with the resources they need for that solution, whether it's yours or not, we are helping. And that is being generous.
If you're not helping, you're not selling. I think that just sums up the exact message. That is imperative, you know, again, if you're a small business owner, if you're doing anything where you're not just given leads and then you do your thing, then you have to be in sales in order to bless people with what you do. And if you're not helping, you're not selling. You just merge those two, it's powerful. I love that.
I think that's also tying in a lot, kind of with our conversation. I'm glad you brought the go-giver, because that's exactly what that's about is what are we giving to others? And then, you know, not even with the intention of getting something back, but it will come. But just, yeah, what are we giving to others and helping? And the thought that I just had along with that is when we trust ourselves, when we say, no, I do have something of value, or I have value I can bring, whether that's a connection to someone else or the service I'm offering, when we can trust ourselves and believe in ourselves, then we can truly be helping someone. You can't help somebody if you don't believe that what you offer, who you are, is worth offering. So kind of, you have to be introspective and think about, no, I do have value and I'm going to provide that to my community.
Absolutely.
So I've read the book, and in generosity, you'll have multiple levels. And for me, and possibly all of us, when we speak to somebody for the first time, you've engaged them. We say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Others say, how's your day going? Great. Okay. That's engagement of generosity, because you've now engaged them to return, hopefully, the generosity that you've given them in your day, in your daily walk. Okay. So I'm happy that I feel that the go-giver says everyone is a go-giver. Everyone is a giver. We exist by giving, because in retrospect, we expect that. It's just the human nature of us. But to give is to be generous. And to say to someone, how's your day? Or you know, things look fantastic, you're doing a great job. That's generosity that is a different level than just existing. And take ownership of that. You know, the second part of the generosity is to yourself. Understand who you are. You have value. You matter. We had a conversation 2 weeks ago about mattering. Okay, you matter. So the generosity has to be flipped to giving yourself kudos, if you will, or just understanding what you've accomplished for that day has happened through generosity that you've given yourself and obtained, and generosity that you've given as a witness to people in public. Done.
Oh, I love
Nice
it.
done.
Yeah.
I was hoping that Todd was gonna jump into a definition of some kind. I was trying for that. I was trying to be Todd, but my phone wouldn't load. Faraday cage of some kind. But I think, Mandy, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I had no idea that my words had impact that way. But that's coming right back to me. That's that flow of generosity. I'm like, this is so what I needed to hear today. It's so good. And I think that part that really kind of sparked my thought was Todd talking about generosity. How we oftentimes define it, I think was something Mandy touched on, is we have this idea of free has to be in there. And it doesn't. That's where I was kind of trying to look for a definition of like, does it actually have to have the word free? Or is generosity this concept of giving abundantly? Like, is there some free in there? Yeah. There's some part where we're not exactly counting the transaction. If I say like warmly, not just hello, but like warmly to Jessica, hi, welcome. Am I expecting her to be like, hi, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm glad to see you back. And if she doesn't, I'm like, well, why did I even say that? Why was that even nice? Like, obviously, like that's a dumb example, but like we can get transaction. Is that generosity? Definitely no. Right? There is some part where like I don't have to have it back in that exact same way. Investment's wonderful. Of course, like, she's very warm, but do I have to have it back in the exact same way I give it? No, I think that's that definition of generosity. I'm giving abundantly, I'm not counting it. But there is a part where when it comes to my product or service, if I have not done the work to listen to the customer, if I've not done the work to ask questions, if I've not done my market research, if I haven't gone, hey, like, what do you think of this? What are your actual needs? Does this help you? What would you modify? I'm not doing a great job of developing something that actually meets their needs. But when it does, I love where Todd went with that idea of, but it should come back to me on some level. Like I need to value myself enough to know I matter too. My family matters. I need to be generous to their mouths to feed them. I need to be generous to my company to go, they've worked hard and at some point deserve to, reap the benefit of that, if for nothing else to build the thing bigger, to be able to give to more people, right? And I love that kind of challenging that concept of generosity. So thank you so much, Mandy. And then Todd, that comment that maybe generosity isn't always something where we're donating for free. Maybe generosity is our attitude of abundance that we're giving. And at some point in there, if we're in the right space, serving the right people in a business context, there should be some exchange of money or goods or trade or something at some point. And that doesn't make it not generous.
But
Yes.
love it. Love it. I'm going to challenge that a little bit with an idea that it may not come back to you exactly the way you are looking for it. So as a teacher, one of the things that I rely on a lot is that I have to give energy to teach. I am not normally bombastic out there, but when I'm in front of 23 students, I know I have to pump energy out there, and I'm just begging for them to reflect it back, because when there's that dynamic where you're giving back what you're receiving, at the energy level rises for everybody, because it's not just being absorbed. And yet on Wednesday we're in midterms. And so, I was going through the final assignments before I turned in midterm grades. And I have been pumping an idea out into to my students all semester long, saying, look, marketing is about solving a problem, helping your customer or potential customer solve this problem. And I didn't get a lot of, oh man, and a lot of energy, and they're just but one of the things I do every time I give an assignment is I ask for an essay of learning. I basically say, what did you learn, in this? And almost to a person, one of the responses that I got back to that was, I always thought marketing was about hype and persuasion and getting people to do something. Is that I didn't know that it could be about just helping people, that you needed to find a problem and then serve that, problem with them. And it was like, That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted them to get out of this first half. And it was all there. It just didn't come back in the form that I was expecting it. So my counterpoint is that sometimes generosity has to be given first, and then you look for the evidence, and it may come from some other place. There was a comment from Sheila Fritz calling me out in a conversation or in the chat. And so, wow, I don't remember particularly the thing I did, but to have that shout out was like, oh, okay, I matter kind of thing. And I think that's what we have to remember. Generosity is simply putting it out there and letting time in the universe bring it back. Hopefully, double down, pouring over.
Yeah. And I hear very similar things in both of what you guys are saying. I think that in a lot of sales books, they talk a lot about like the tokens, and they're talking about the immediate transaction. You put this in and you get something back. And it's really important to kind of step back from that. They're like so close to getting it, but they're just missing a little bit of that you're putting it into the universe. It's not that person's obligation to repay that investment. It's a way bigger scale, and you're just putting them in. And like you're saying, you don't know when the payouts, where it's coming from, when it's coming from, but you know that you put them in, and that it's all, building up to something. And it gives you a lot more of that freedom of knowing that I am taking care of myself, because I do have faith that this is coming full circle. But I don't have to, have it dependent on that person.
The way I explain it to my kids is we plant seeds. We plant seeds of kindness, of generosity, and you never know when that seed's gonna pop up.
Yeah.
It pops up at the right time. And so really the things that we're doing, they're coming back to us. We don't even have to expect it from someone else. It will come back because we planted it. And so it's not wrong to even expect goodness back. I mean, when you give, you get, it comes back to you. Karma or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think it's good to expect that, to expect good things when you give good things. You're going to attract that like-mindedness. So
Yeah. I mean, we're manifestors, I believe. So I think it is very important to, hold yourself to high account of what you're giving to people, but that you do expect that back. But from the universe rather than a specific individual, where if one person decides that, they're just not at that level yet, and you are giving them kindness and they're not able to give that back, that it doesn't make you question anything about your approach to the world. And it's coming back somewhere, and poor darling's having a terrible day. Like,
This is where you have to be careful of your expectation. In that if you have an expectation and it's not fulfilled at any time now or 100 years from now, you still had that manifested expectation. So when you're generous, and the way I'm generous, like I said, is I engage people on a level. How's your day? How are you? Give me a story or tell me in detail what happened of your day type thing. That is going to come back. That is a given, a definitive. It's going to come back. So the gracious generosity that you're showing, you'll see come back in many times in folds. But it will come back. So be careful of the expectation.
yeah.
One analogy I really liked is I am so confident in my sales because the way I see it, it's the same thing as saying, hey, if you give me a 5, I'll give you a 12.
Mhm.
And so that's where we provide value in our sales is like, yeah, they have to pay for us, but we're giving their company so much more value on top of what they're paying.
Right. I love that.
I've said in sales to some people about what I do. I say, look, if you knew about this and you didn't tell me, we'd have some words. Like I'd be upset if you knew. So.
That's good. That's good.
So well said.
Oh, that's the exact, I hope that everybody can get there with their business where they truly, and sometimes you have to say it before you feel it in your belly, but that's where you get to, where you really do feel like, nothing is for everyone. So there will be no's. You'll discover that, oh, this isn't the right opportunity for you. But how do you know that unless I've offered it to you? And to feel like it really is an obligation, that you are doing a disservice by you're not being generous if you're keeping what you do and the service you provide to yourself.
Or your talents or your gifts
Yes.
from the world, like that's a disservice, you're meant to share those. Those are a
Mhm.
blessing for others as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in on this. There's another book that is probably not counter to Go Giver, but it's another aspect or another way to look at things. Adam Grant wrote a book called Give and Take. How many of you have read that?
No.
I don't think I've read that one, but I'm familiar with Adam Grant.
He wanted to find out about givers and takers, and so he identified them. Takers are people that will take from you and take from you and take from you. They'll take your wife, your dog, your car, your house, your livelihood, whatever it was. And they'll continue to take until they no longer can take anything from you, and then they will discard you. The people who are givers will be givers that don't give you an obligation to do anything for them. They're just the giver people that we're talking about here. In between there, between the givers and the takers, are a middle kind of person who will remain a giver as long as they can before they turn into a taker. So it behooves us to understand going in that not everybody is going to necessarily be somebody that we're going to live with and stay with and be best buddies. If you do your good work, let it land. It speaks for itself. And if somebody doesn't get it, then somebody just simply doesn't get it. Move on. But don't beat yourself up because you thought that your 100% would be enough. Some people will just never match up to you. The other thing I was going to say is that in terms of just referrals in our promotional marketing business, some of the best referral partners we've ever had never bought a thing from us. It was because of the respect, because of the things that we did for people they knew about. That was enough. That was enough to refer us.
Very true. And
And-
powerful.
What if we put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer for a second? So the only time as a consumer I would get angry is if I gave $20 for a product or service and I didn't get $20 or more worth if what I got was less than what I paid for.
And I think even, in a lot of situations, it goes back to, not even what you've done, but how you do it, because every single product can have a point where it falls on its face or someone misunderstood, there can be where someone is, at the end of the day, they didn't get their full satisfaction out of whatever that is. And sometimes even in those positions, you can gain some of your most loyal clients.
That's where opportunities sit.
Because how you step up to that,
Yeah.
everything goes hunky dory the whole time. They're like, yeah, it was pretty good. I like her. But if something actually goes wrong and you have that great, that where you really get to rise to the occasion, and show that, everything falls, there's a potential for everyone to fall off the horse. It's how you get back on. So I love that example. I think it's very true. And it goes back to really making sure that you have confidence in whatever it is that you're providing. And that you have a very strong core belief, trust in that. And then that if it fell on its face, you're not like, oh God, it's because I was lying. It's, because it was, wow, this is a one-off. What are we gonna do to fix it? How do we form a solution out of this? So I love that perspective.
Have you ever noticed when something does go off, like it happens like 3 times to that one person? Has that ever happened to you guys? It's like, this never happens and just like, they just get pummeled. It's like, well, it's stuff.
When it rains, it pours.
It's
That's
a true
sad.
test on how you're doing it.
That's very sad.
One thing I wanted to kind of shift a little bit and something from our conversation, and maybe for people who don't feel like they're in as much of a sales role, because I think you could probably equate everything in some way to sales, but there's going to be people who don't.
Yeah.
But a big thing we talked about too was creating an environment around us of generosity. And so I think it'd be a good time to shift to that a little bit about how do we be generous ourselves, but also create that environment so that others can feel that generosity and then in turn generous.
Yeah. Well, I think it really goes back even down to what you were saying. It's
Engagement.
yeah, it even just starts in the eye contact, the amount of presence that you involve in the people around you. And then it just works all the way up to there. It's just, having that foundational, whatever it is that you're doing, even if it has, like you're saying, nothing to do with sales, but you are in a darker cubicle and there's people around you and you decide that, Mondays are a real drag for everybody. And so you decide you want to bring in muffins and just hand deliver them. So everybody knows, like, hey, Cindy, hope you had a great weekend. I'm glad you're back. Like, just little things like that, of whatever that capacity is. Maybe you hate looking people in the eyes. And that is just, then that's not your gift. There's another way that you figure out what it is that you can provide so that, and again, it is, I think all of us have that innate need of like that feeling, unless maybe we're really deep in the taker post there, but most of us, have that longing to feel like we're participating in the betterment of society, the betterment of our office, the betterment of our home, our community, whatever that looks like. And so I think rather than just avoid that or put that on the horizon of like, oh, well, someday I'll be able to give, someday I'll work for a nonprofit, someday I'll, it's, just looking inside and going, there's so many ways to meet people where they're at and make sure that they feel valued. And I think anytime that you're providing value, you're being very generous.
I was gonna tell a story here. Actually, it's a story on Todd because it's something I recognize in the way he does things. So we have a project together and we spend quite a bit of time breaking bread together at various locations. And, a few of them have been, new locations and things like that. It's always impressive that when we sit down and the waiter or waitress comes up, it's just social norm. They're there to wait on you. And yet I can watch Todd engage with them and he is immediately, what's your name? How do you like work? What's great here? What's really, and pretty soon he's pulled out so much from them that, they're busy going, wait, I was supposed to be doing something here. What was that? And so it's, oh yeah, no, we're not ready to order. Come back. And yet that engages people at a level of recognizing their humanity. And that's being generous because we know that we've built a culture where they're servers. They're not supposed to, they're just supposed to be background. And yet you can bring them in and recognize them. And that's what I try to do. And, when I'm out is I try to pay attention to people, situations and listening in. And so that way, at least I acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Let me add to that. They also did some studies about if there are three people within earshot of each other, and one of them says to the other one, "You look really nice today," it boosts their immune system. But the phenomenal part about that is that whoever heard it and whoever saw it happen, their immune system is boosted as well.
I love that.
That's how we're wired.
We're boosting all of our immune systems. I do push back a little bit on the eye contact thing.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One is we're talking about that sometimes we add value. I felt it. Or there's Leonidas and Steve. And probably Zane too.
I wasn't, but now I want to join in.
So we talked about adding value to people that don't necessarily realize they need that value added, right? Like that when you have to kind of gently push on somebody. And this is going to be a gentle push on somebody out there that is like, oh, I'm just not good at eye contact and would love to just take if eye contact's not your thing, do something else. So it's a gentle pushback for those people. And the second reason is because of myself. I only recently started making eye contact with people, like 2, maybe 3 years. And I grew up the way I was raised, all these different dynamics. I just had a tendency to keep my eyes down. And I felt very not intimidated by the other people that were giving me eye contact, but I felt like I would intimidate them with my eye contact. Like I came across too fierce or too something. And I just had this like, I don't want to hurt them with my eye contact. I was, mindset stuff. It's hard to articulate. I don't remember what caused it to happen, but I discovered eye contact, and it's been an amazing journey for me, a hard journey. But when you look somebody in the eye and you see them and they feel you seeing them and they see you, it is worlds apart from, yeah, you guys are all great. I like it changes. I mean, it has changed my life. That and listening to people, like actually actively listening to people, life changing. So yes, bring muffins. Yes, if you're not ready to make eye contact yet, but like, if that's you, if you're the one that like struggles with eye contact, like I was there for most of my entire life and I get it. And if you'll be willing to make that little bit of effort, you will see a dynamic change in your relationships. Sales, like doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you do, if you can master that skill, it is night and day different. So
Really like that encouragement and invitation. A lot of the best things for us oftentimes are very hard.
it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to hear.
I have something to add on to that too, and I'll preface this with anybody that's been a little bit quieter. We're kind of nearing the end, so this is a great time to collect your thoughts, and we'd love to hear from anyone who hasn't really spoken. But talking about reframing, right? And even just your comment a few minutes ago, reframe something for me. So I had a pretty thankless job. I worked at a call center. And one of the things I would do in between calls, I would grab a stack of scrap paper that was there for people to write notes on. And I would sit there and I'd fold paper airplanes and thousands of them. And I would stack them in my drawer.
Wow.
And we would have breaks as a team. So we had kind of a cube and we would take my paper airplanes, and while another cube was on a call, we'd bombard them with airplanes. And I'm just having fun. I'm doing that. And then I'm like, you know what? That was a generous thing.
Yes.
Because we
The
were,
community was raising.
now we didn't want to make eye contact in that situation. But, just that, again, that reframing, yes, it's silly, it's fun. One of the teams returned them by shredding them and putting the shreds all over our desk. I was kind of sad about that. But it was again, just reframing that of like, yeah, it's silly fun, but I can look at that as a generous thing. So.
Oh, I think that's so important, is that maybe we do just take this all a little bit too literal and too seriously of like, if I'm not being Mother Teresa, if I have $1 in my bank account and I don't have ashes on my head, then I'm clearly not doing much. So maybe the expectation's just a little bit too high of, just did you put some smiles on people's faces? Did you make a couple people feel seen? I'm so surprised at how often people will have a visceral reaction in drive-throughs because I look them in the eye and actually talk to them. They literally will be like have a moment where they're like, oh, you're talking to me. I'm like, well, you're the only person in front of me. So yes, it is you. But even that, how many people drove through and didn't look at them for them to respond that way to someone looking at them?
Yeah.
Do you two have anything you'd like to share, even if you want to just ponder it for a minute?
Going to what you said about in the drive-through, when people are like, oh, you're talking to me. I was a barista for 5 years. And it's just amazing the difference in types of people. There's, 2 girls in the morning, usually they would always work the same shift. So sometimes if I would fill in, they would look around me like, she knows what I drink. And I'm like, well, I'm here today, so feel free to go ahead and tell me. But I think they just get caught in this cycle. And then sometimes if you challenge them, like, you can tell me too, then sometimes they don't even think about it. It's just like going day to day, you're just in your system. But then I think it can be beneficial to them too. It's kind of an odd way to put it, but a generous reminder to them of, think about it for a second, because sometimes you catch them off guard and they're like, oh, you are a person too. I should be responding to you as well, or just, even people on their phones. am making eye contact, like this is eye contact. You know, I do hear you, I do see you, and I think it could be. People are a lot more engaging and they don't recognize that they haven't been when sometimes you can kind of call them out that way, not in a bad way, but just a reminder that we're all people, you know, you can communicate with us all, so.
Yeah,
Good.
that's very valid.
I think in general, to just to kind of dovetail on what you were saying, we're all just human. People just want and have an internal desire just to be heard. You know, I mean, if you make a solid connection or at least attempt to, and you hear and you know, kind of identify with what they're saying, that goes a long way. And it kind of in a sense, you know, done the right way, I feel melts all icebergs, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So the more you keep with that philosophy and keep trying and trying and trying, eventually it will pay off and make big breakthroughs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to expand on that, one of the most generous things that you can do, I think, for free, essentially, might cost you your sanity, is just listening to people. Like, just let them talk at you or to you. You don't even have to say anything back, because some people haven't been listened to ever. It kind of sucks. So if you're that person, one of the most generous things you can do that you do often, and I do for you occasionally.
Well, I see where this is going.
Oh,
What about for your siblings, Leonidas, your young ones?
What?
Your younger siblings, do you do that for them too?
What? That's what I do that.
Nothing.
Generously, but selectively.
And I think that is one of the things that I keep hearing and I keep wanting to throw out there is that not everybody is a good fit for everybody else,
Yes.
especially at all times. And so like your experience with the drive-through, like the person coming in, they might have like and I'll tell on myself, when I go into Costco, I'm a member at Costco. If you guys have seen that viral video going around of the guy that's all dressed up and he's like, I'm an executive member. Like that is me. I am, I like but I like to walk in and I like to feel like they know me. And I know that, I mean, they actually do, like a lot of the people there do know me, but like, when I go through and they're like, oh, excuse me, sir, you have to scan your card, which I love scanning my card. I love checking in. Like I get to check in a car.
Wow.
But when
Costco, are you paying this man?
this session brought to you by Edic Designs and Costco Executive Membership. But
Such a reveal here. It is.
but if I were going to a coffee stand and they knew me and I loved that experience of like, they see my car and they're already starting to fix my drink. And then there's some new girl and she wants me to tell her my drink. No, they know me, right? So like in that moment, they might have driven away being like, I did not care for that experience. And you could take that and be like, oh my gosh, nobody likes me, right? But the next person is like, oh my gosh, I love Lexi. She always asks me how, you know, like, so like sometimes you're gonna have the like, I cannot believe that she asked me to give her, right? Like sometimes like that's gonna be me. Sometimes I'm like, ugh, can't believe they didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated. And if we, and I'm talking for me with real estate, like I have had clients that it was not a good fit. And I went into, I won't say I went to a dark place, but I went into this like, I'm not very good at this. Maybe I shouldn't even do this anymore. And then like, fortunately for me, next conversation is with a client that's like, John, you're so, just like, thank you so much. And that level of appreciation. And we get to choose where we live. And I would say like, if all of your client or customer experiences are not great, then you might need to look at your systems and processes and who you are. And maybe you do need to be in a different industry. But if you've got, even if it's 50-50, call up those clients that make you feel amazing and just thank them. Say, hey, I'm just thinking about you and I appreciate you. Let them reciprocate that appreciation, because then you'll be like, okay, yeah, I do have my people that I serve and I serve them really well. And I'm like 10 years in real estate and I'm still having that where it's like, I sometimes have people that it's not a good fit. And I can really be like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
really, really great point, because even in the generosity of looking someone in the eye and even those simple things, is an act of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you're offering something that could be rejected.
Yeah.
And so a book that I would couple on top of this, if you haven't read it already, is The Four Agreements. And I think
yes.
that that is a really powerful book to internally, get your house in order of, having the resilience to keep offering when you're denied.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy. I mean, this has been great. Thank you everyone for participating, and this is why we come and just love being here for these conversations and getting to learn and grow together. And today we got to learn about generosity. And so, yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll be kind of changing it up a little bit, so stay tuned for updates on location. Thank you again to Dryfly for allowing us to be here, and Edic Designs for the amazing lunch. Sponsored by the awesome staff at Dryfly. They surprise us every time with how good it is.
Yes.
And we will
It's
see
delicious.
everyone.
You guys have been a little vague. Do we know where we are next
We
week?
will be here next week.
Yeah,
Thank you,
next week.
Stephen. Yes,
Okay.
we will be here at Dryfly next week, same time. We are just working on soon coming. We'll be moving things around, but yes,
Lots
next
of-
week.
Lots of moving parts.
Yes, thank you, Todd. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.